There were 2 mugs in the sink. That's how I knew. Not the smell on her coat. Not the lipstick I didn't recognize on the rim of the wine glass. Not even the time. 3:42 a.m. Hours after the so-called quick drink. No, it was the mugs. I made tea before she left. One for her, one for me. She didn't touch hers. But there were 2 used mugs in the sink. I stood there, in the kitchen, barefoot on the cold tile, staring at them like they might blink first. My hands were still sticky from the honey jar. I remember that detail because when I picked up the note she hadn't seen yet, the one I left by the salt shaker, the corner stuck to my thumb. For words, written in blue ink on torn notebook paper. Don't wait for me. It wasn't meant to be poetic. I wasn't trying to break hearts or write the ending of a sad indie movie. I just didn't want her to look for me again. Ever. Upstairs, she was humming. Humming. She always did that after she thought she got away with something. As if music could rinse guilt from the air like Febreze. I didn't say goodbye. I didn't even put on shoes. Just grabbed my keys, walked past the mugs, past the coat she dropped, past the heels tipped sideways like a crime scene, and left. The worst part? I still loved her. And what I found out 3 days later made everything worse. I didn't go far. Just 2 blocks down, parked across from the 24-hour laundromat. Engine off, phone face down on the passenger seat. I didn't want music. I didn't want news. I just wanted silence thick enough to drown in. But even then, my brain wouldn't shut up. It kept replaying things, not just tonight, but years of tiny red flags I had neatly folded and stuffed into drawers labeled overthinking. The nights she took longer showers. The lunches she forgot to pack, even though she always double-checked mine. The weird spike in her Spotify playlists, heartbreak ballads, and moody synth pop that sounded nothing like her. At 4:11 a.m., I saw him. He walked right up to the house. No hesitation. No glancing over his shoulder. Just strolled up the path like he lived there. Blue hoodie, gray sweats, gym bag slung over one shoulder. He didn't knock. Didn't text. Just pulled the spare key from under the frog planter, the one I told her not to use anymore, and let himself in. I don't know what hurt more, the fact that she never hit it better, or the fact that he looked so comfortable doing it. I gripped the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. Part of me wanted to get out, storm in, yell, throw, break. But what would that change? She already made her choice. She was humming when I left, remember? That wasn't guilt. That was relief. At 4:37 a.m., the porch light flicked off. That same flicker, soft, dying, like the house itself was exhausted from pretending. I sat there until the sun started bleeding through the rooftops, painting everything in this pale, pitiful light that made the world look like a faded photograph. I drove to my brother's place in Oak Ridge and crashed on his couch without saying a word. He didn't ask questions. He just tossed me a blanket and let me be. But 2 days later, while grabbing my toothbrush from the overnight bag, I noticed something that stopped me cold. Her phone. Her second phone. The one she always claimed was for work emergencies, buried under my hoodie in the side pocket of the bag she used for weekend trips. And what I found inside, well, that's where the story really begins. I stared at the second phone like it was a grenade missing the pin. It was matte black, no case, no stickers, no lock screen photo. Just cold, utilitarian plastic, the kind someone uses when they don't want it traced back to them. She never let me touch it. If it rang, she'd walk out of the room before answering. If I asked, she'd scoff. "It's for emergencies," she'd say, like I was being ridiculous. But this phone wasn't buzzing with emergencies. It was humming with secrets. I hesitated before turning it on. A part of me still hoped it was innocent. Maybe she forgot it in the bag. Maybe it was old, dead, disconnected. But no. It lit up with 49 unread messages and a lock screen that read, "Tuesday? Same place?" No names. Just that. My hands were shaking as I unlocked it. No passcode. She must have figured I'd never see it. Or maybe she liked the thrill of hiding something in plain sight. I scrolled through the messages. Most of the contacts were saved with initials or emojis. One thread was labeled only with a red wine glass emoji. The first thing I saw? A photo of the man in the blue hoodie. Shirtless, lying in our bed. My side of the bed. I didn't breathe for a moment. I didn't cry. I just kept scrolling. Messages dated months back. Voice notes. Photos. Videos. God help me, videos. Hotel rooms. Parking lots. One clip was taken in my own workshop, Her sitting on the edge of the antique dresser I'd spent 3 weeks restoring, giggling like a teenager while he whispered something in her ear. I dropped the phone like it burned me. Because it did. I don't remember lying down, but I woke up on my brother's floor 3 hours later, face pressed into the carpet, my mouth dry as sand. The phone was still there, screen dimmed, but glowing faintly like it was waiting for me to come back. Like it knew I would. I should have deleted everything. I should have smashed the phone and erased it from existence. But I didn't. I backed it up. I didn't know what I'd do with the evidence, but I knew one thing. This wasn't a random betrayal. This was architecture. This was months, maybe years, of planning, hiding, manipulating. I started wondering how deep it went. Was I ever her person at all? Or just the safe harbor she returned to between storms? Later that night, I sent her a message from a burner email. It only said, "Don't wash the mugs." I already saw them. No signature. No threats. Just that. The next morning, she called me 12 times. I didn't pick up. She had no idea what I was planning next. By the third missed call, I could feel her panic bleeding through the phone. By the sixth, it turned into desperation. She left her first voicemail after the eighth call. Her voice was trembling, but she was trying too hard to sound calm. "Elwood, I think we should talk. I think there's been a misunderstanding." A misunderstanding. Like I tripped over a misplaced coat instead of discovering my wife tangled up with a man who drinks out of my favorite mug in the middle of the night. I didn't listen to the rest. She sent an email next, her old Gmail, not the slick corporate one she usually uses. She never wrote emails like this before. The subject line read, "Please come home." No body text. Just those 3 words. She wanted me to be the weak one. The forgiver. The pushover. She was baiting the old me. The man who made her coffee in bed when she had cramps, who gave her back rubs after work even when he was the one exhausted. The man who stayed silent when her lies tasted like truth. But that man was gone. Or maybe he was still here, just finally wide awake. Instead of replying, I got to work. I downloaded everything off the burner phone. Every photo, every chat log, every location tag. I sorted it all into folders. One labeled house, another car, another my bed. It wasn't for court. I didn't want to sue her or make some messy public drama. I just wanted clarity. Proof. A record of reality. So I never gaslight myself again into thinking I imagined it all. I started connecting dots. The weekend she claimed she was at her sister's? GPS logs showed her parked at a lakefront cabin registered to a man named Seth Crane. That wasn't the guy in the hoodie. This was someone else. A name I'd never heard, but suddenly I was seeing it everywhere. Old receipts she left in the trash. A Venmo transaction buried in our joint account from 7 months ago. $300. Cleaning fee, no evil monkey. What was this? An affair or a hobby? I needed more. So I called Jess. Not from my number, from a friend's. Jess was supposedly the best friend, the drinking buddy, the girls' night. Excuse on more than one occasion. She answered on the second ring. "Hello?" "Hey, Jess," I said, my voice soft and shaking, just enough to sound broken but not hysterical. "It's Elwood. I'm sorry to call you like this, but I just need to know." Dead silence. Then a nervous inhale. "Elwood, I don't think I'm the right person to. I'm not asking for details." I cut in, lying. "I just need to know how long. Please. I'm not angry. I just don't want to feel crazy anymore." There was a long pause. And then, in the quietest whisper I've ever heard someone use over the phone, she said, "It started before your anniversary trip." I begged her not to go through with it. Our anniversary trip was 16 months ago. 16 months. That means the handwritten letter she gave me at the cabin, the one where she said, "I feel like I fall in love with you all over again every day." That letter was already a lie. When I hung up, I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just sat there, staring at the same kitchen table where we used to eat pancakes on Sundays and argue over which playlist to put on. And for the first time in this entire spiral, I smiled. Not because I was okay, not even close, but because now I had no reason left to doubt myself. She burned the bridge. I was just making sure it collapsed with her still standing on it. I didn't want revenge. Not the dramatic kind, at least. I didn't want to scream at her in public or send anonymous texts to her mother or leave some damning post on Facebook like some emotionally unstable high schooler. I wanted something quieter, something colder. I wanted her to realize I had slipped through her fingers and taken something with me she'd never get back, her control. So I started with the bank. The joint account was easy. I withdrew my half, down to the cent, and closed my side of access. She must have noticed, because by that evening, she texted me, "Hey, did something happen with the account? I can't log in." No apology. No explanation. Just concern over access. That told me everything I needed to know. Then I erased her from my passwords, subscriptions, shared files, the little ties that connect people without them even realizing they're tied. The Netflix account we used for years? Gone. The cloud storage with all our old vacation photos? Transferred, locked, and archived under my name. The Spotify playlist titled Us? Deleted while it played her favorite track. I wasn't trying to be cruel. I was just removing the illusion that we still existed. I found a small apartment the next town over. A basement unit with low ceilings, no dishwasher, and a radiator that sounds like it's haunted. I signed the lease under my middle name. Nobody there knows I was ever married. That's what I wanted, a clean cut. Not with blood, but with silence. And still she kept calling. Not just once or twice. Dozens of times, usually after midnight. As if the loneliness only sank in once the world went quiet. I didn't answer, but I listened to the voicemails. Not because I missed her, I didn't, but because I was fascinated by the shape of her unraveling. First, it was confusion. I don't know what's going on. Can we please talk? Then came the manipulation. You're scaring me, Elwood. Why are you being like this? And finally, the guilt tripping. If this is about that night, you don't know the whole story. You're throwing away everything we had. Everything we had. She meant everything I held together while she dismantled it behind my back. But the worst part wasn't her words, it was the pauses. The moments between them. That half second after she said my name, and before she said the next lie. It was like she could hear herself falling apart, and didn't know how to stop it. Those silences haunted me more than anything. I kept the burner phone. I didn't respond to any of the messages on it. I didn't delete them either. Every time I opened it, it was like watching a documentary about someone I used to know. Someone who used my name and wore my ring, but was never really mine. One night, just before dawn, I sat on the floor of the new apartment and read the last letter she ever wrote me. The one from our anniversary trip. The handwriting was neat. Too neat. Like she wrote it slowly to seem more heartfelt. It said, "I feel safest when I'm with you." I used to believe that line meant something. Now I think it meant exactly what it said. I was her emotional safety net. Her fallback plan. Her stability, while she chased chaos elsewhere. She didn't miss me. She missed the version of herself that felt untouchable because I was always there to catch her. And now I wasn't. That's when I realized this wasn't a breakup. This was a disappearance. I wasn't leaving her. I was erasing the version of myself that ever needed her in the first place. I was doing laundry when he called. That's what makes this moment stand out. Not the call itself, but the utter banality of what I was doing when the walls started to shift again. My hands were submerged in lukewarm water, scrubbing the collar of a flannel shirt I hadn't worn since the week she left. I had this dumb playlist on in the background, old folk songs my dad used to play on Sunday mornings. Everything about the moment was small, human, forgettable, until my phone lit up. Unknown number. I don't usually answer those anymore, but something in me, maybe curiosity, maybe a bad instinct, told me to pick up. I said hello. Silence. Then breathing. Not heavy or shaky. Calm. Controlled. "Elwood," he said. And just like that, I knew. The voice didn't match the face entirely, but the tone did. That passive confidence. That relaxed drawl like everything in the world was going exactly how he wanted it to. It was the man in the blue hoodie. I said nothing. "She doesn't know I'm calling you," he continued. "In fact, she'd lose her mind if she found out. But I thought maybe it was time." Still, I didn't speak. "I figured you'd want to hear it from me," he said. "The truth. No filters. No editing. Just man to man. Is that something you want?" I should have hung up. Every logical part of me screamed to do it. But something about his voice, that quiet arrogance, made my skin crawl in a way I couldn't walk away from. "I know what you did," I finally said, barely more than a whisper. "I doubt it," he replied. Then came the sound of a lighter flicking, a soft inhale. He was smoking. Of course he was. "Look, I'm not proud of how it happened. I didn't go after your wife. She came to me. That matters, doesn't it? You get that, right?" No, I didn't get it. I didn't get how someone could stand in another man's house, drink from his mugs, sleep in his bed, and now call him on a Thursday afternoon to explain himself like this was all a misunderstanding. She told me things, he went on, about how you never left the house, how you didn't see her anymore, about your routines, your schedules, your little hobbies, clocks, right? That's your thing? I still said nothing, but inside I was burning. I just figured you were checked out, that you were done trying. So I didn't feel guilty. That probably makes me a bastard, but it's the truth. He paused, waited. I finally asked, why are you calling me? The silence on his end lasted a beat too long. Because she's losing it, he said. I don't mean sad. I mean unraveling. Showing up at my place drunk, crying, throwing things, saying she made a mistake, that she wants to fix things with you, that you were the only person who ever actually saw her. She keeps saying you were the lighthouse, and she was the shipwreck. I felt sick, not because she was using metaphors, but because those were my metaphors, my words. I once wrote that in a birthday card to her 3 years ago. You're the lighthouse, and I'm always sailing home. Now she was repackaging it, weaponizing it, trying to stitch something dead back together using scraps she stole from me. She wants to find you, he added. She said if you don't come back, she's going to start visiting people. Family, friends, work, anywhere. She's spinning out, man. And if you don't get ahead of it. He didn't finish the sentence. Because he didn't have to. I thanked him, hung up, and tossed my phone onto the couch like it had betrayed me. I stared at it as if it might ring again, as if the next call would come from her, or worse, someone else she pulled into the spiral. And I knew then, this wasn't over. She wasn't just going to fade away. She was going to try to rewrite the ending. But I had already planned for that. The next day, I booked a meeting with someone I swore I'd never speak to again, her older sister. And what she told me next changed everything. I met her sister at a diner 20 miles outside the city. Not because it was halfway, because she picked it. Said she didn't want to be seen by anyone who might know. I didn't ask who she meant. Family? Neighbors? Her church book club? I didn't care. The fact that she didn't want to be seen told me this wasn't going to be a light conversation. I got there early, ordered black coffee, and took the booth in the back where I could see the door. I didn't touch the menu. I wasn't hungry. I just kept staring at the condensation on my glass, watching the droplets slide down like the world was melting in slow motion. She walked in exactly on time. Same walk as her sister, fast but floaty, like she was always 5 seconds behind where she meant to be. She didn't smile. She sat across from me, ordered hot water with lemon, and took off her sunglasses even though the diner was dim. She doesn't know I'm here, she said. I nodded. I debated coming, she added, voice low. But after the things she's been saying lately, I think you deserve to hear some things. And I think she needs to be stopped before she rewrites this entire story. Again, I didn't respond. I wanted her to fill the silence, to decide for herself how much to reveal. And she did. She's been like this before, she said. When we were younger, she cheated on her high school boyfriend with his best friend. Told everyone he hit her so she'd come out the victim. Even cried to mom about it. Had the whole school treating her like some poor, fragile thing. She stirred her lemon water. Never looked up. In college, same pattern. Found a guy, got bored, cheated, then spun a narrative that he was controlling. One of them lost a scholarship because she said he stalked her. He didn't. I knew him. He was quiet. Played cello in the damn orchestra. I stayed silent. None of this excuses what you went through, she added quickly, finally looking at me. But I need you to understand, this thing with you? It wasn't a one-time collapse. It's a blueprint. She builds people into shelters, lives in them until she gets bored, and then sets a fire on the way out. There was no venom in her voice. No rage. Just resignation. Exhaustion. Like someone who had been trying to sound the alarm for years and finally gave up. She called me last week crying, she said. Said you were being cruel. Said you vanished without giving her closure. Said you were probably having a breakdown. Wanted me to help her find you. She's been telling people you're unstable. That maybe you're suicidal. That part made me flinch. She noticed. She's painting herself as the widow before the death certificate's even printed, her sister said. But I've been watching her pattern too long. And this time, I'm not playing along. I swallowed, slowly. My throat felt raw. She'll come for your image next, she said. Not just your bank account, your sanity, or your silence. She'll twist the story until people wonder what you did to her. That's how she survives. She uses pity like currency. I asked, finally, why are you telling me all this? She didn't answer right away. She leaned back in the booth, her face tired, almost embarrassed. Because I'm tired of watching good people get torn apart just because they were decent enough to love her. She slid something across the table. A flash drive. What is this? Screenshots, she said. From her iCloud. I have her password. She doesn't know. Old messages. Voice memos. Some recordings. She's been spiraling, and I've been saving receipts. I stared at the little plastic rectangle like it was a key to a room I already knew was on fire. She thinks she's invincible, her sister said. But even the best liars eventually leave a crack. You just have to know where to tap. I left the diner 30 minutes later. I didn't say thank you. I think she understood. I didn't go home. I went to a co-working space, logged into a private laptop, and opened the drive. And what I found wasn't just evidence. It was a roadmap of manipulation so cold and meticulous, it made me realize she hadn't just betrayed me emotionally, she'd rehearsed it. Every move, every lie, every exit. But what she didn't plan for was someone surviving it. And now I wasn't just surviving. I was documenting. I didn't release the screenshots. I didn't upload the voice memos or email them to her boss or send them to anyone in her family. I didn't blast her across social media or post some poetic closure statement for likes and validation. The old me might have wanted that. The version of me who thought justice had to be public, that pain had to be answered with spectacle. But the man sitting here now, in a little apartment where the walls don't echo anymore, he doesn't need that. I made a folder on an encrypted drive, named it Proof I Wasn't Crazy. Then I closed the laptop and haven't opened it since. She texted me once more. Just one line. I don't recognize you anymore. And for the first time since this whole thing started, I smiled without bitterness. Because she was right. She didn't recognize me. She only ever knew the version of me who bent, who stayed, who forgave on reflex like it was a reflex. She never bothered learning the version who grew in silence. The version who learned to walk away not because he hated her, but because he finally liked himself. A few months passed. The burner phone stayed off. The original phone got a new number. The name on my lease no longer carried hers beside it. I started taking walks in the morning again. Early, when the world's still fogged over, and most people are still dreaming. I like the quiet. I like seeing things without noise. I joined a woodworking class. Nothing fancy. Just me and a few retirees who talk about boats they never built and grandkids who never call. I made a small cabinet last week. Sanded it smooth. No nails, just joints, patience, and time. The instructor said it was clean. That felt better than any compliment I've heard in years. I also met someone. Unexpectedly. No, not in a rom-com way. No grand moment. No saving each other from emotional wreckage. Just a barista who remembered my order, asked about the book I was reading, and once told me I have library energy. Her name's Rowan. She doesn't know much about my past, and I don't offer it. We're not rushing anything. I'm not building another shelter for someone else to live in. This time, I'm just opening the windows and letting the light in, piece by piece, hour by hour. Because the truth is, healing doesn't feel like fireworks or finish lines. It feels like walking through your old life, noticing what hurts less than it used to. It feels like seeing a mug in the sink and knowing you're the one who used it. It feels like freedom, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. Not even her apology, which, by the way, never came. And that's okay. I didn't need it. Because the closure wasn't in the message. It was in the silence that followed, the peace that finally stayed.